أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Seek refuge in Allah against shaitan the rejected. I begin with the name of Allah, eternal source of mercy and grace, and greet you the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight we're doing the second part of Surah Yusuf, or the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. And as we said, the story of Yusuf is quite a detailed one mentioned in the Quran, and it's one of the only, or I think the only chapter that covers a story of a prophet from almost beginning to end. So in one surah, you've got the story of Yusuf, where you can get it. Normally, if you look at the story of Musa alayhi salam or Ibrahim alayhi salam, you would have to navigate through the entire Quran to find the different surahs where it occurs. But Yusuf alayhi salam's story is unique in that sense. The story is mentioned in quite detail, so we're going to cover this over 3 weeks. I'm sure you enjoyed last week's presentation, and I hope you enjoyed today's and next week's as well, inshallah. So, last week, what we covered was Yusuf alayhi salam having his dream. Right? Anyone recall the crux of that dream? What do you remember about that dream? 11 stars. Right. 11 stars, sun and the moon. And what were these 11 stars, the sun and the moon doing?
Prostrating.
Yeah. They were prostrating to Yusuf. Right? Yeah. So he's seeing these 11 stars, the sun and the moon in his dream, and they, I would say, they're submitting to him. They're making sujood or sajidin. And he goes to his father and narrates the dream to his father, and his father advises him against disclosing this dream to his brothers. So obviously what you could see from there is that there was some tension in the house of Yaqub alayhi salam between the brothers, and there seemed to have been some envy by the brothers against Yusuf alayhi salam. And as a result of this envy, you know, there's a verse, I'm sure you covered it last week, that they didn't like Yusuf alayhi salam because they thought that the father loved him more. So for whatever reason, they had this sort of jealousy and animosity, and so Yaqub alayhi salam tells him, so don't narrate this dream to your brothers, because you know what we learn from that is that human this emotion or this feeling of jealousy and animosity can lead to drastic consequences. So we should try and avoid this, and this is what Yaqub alayhi salam was afraid of as well, when he said don't tell your brothers, because he was afraid what the brothers would or could potentially do as a result, or driven by their state of mind or the jealousy, right? So the brothers hatch a plan to throw Yusuf alayhi salam down a well, or to basically get rid of Yusuf alayhi salam, right? And they execute their plan. So you recall they went to their father and they said, send him out with us, and they go out. And the father says, but I'm scared the wolf's going to devour him. And they say, no, we're so many of us, you know, how's the wolf going to devour him? So they hatch a plan and they say they want to kill him, and they say, no, throw him down the well. So they throw him down the well and say, out of sight, out of mind, and they go home, and the father, Yaqub alayhi salam, doesn't believe this, and he says, for me, what does he say? What's the best thing to do? To have sabr. Okay, this is what he says. For sabr, and not just sabr. What's the famous word used? Sabrun jamilun. I know when we were young, and the elders used to always tell us, don't just make sabr, have sabrun jamil. You want to, what's sabrun jamil? Now when you look at the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, you see Yaqub alayhi salam, and this trauma that he's going through as a result of not knowing where is his son, between life and death, right? He's convinced somewhere in his heart that, you know, Yusuf can't be dead, but in his mind, but physically he's not there. So he's in a really difficult position, and he says, Sabrun Jamil, right? So a really good or a beautiful sabr, he really needs to now train himself with this quality of sabr, which is endurance. They come home and tell their father that he was eaten by a wolf, and then what happens now is that Yusuf is down the well, and we start the story from here. So he is in the well and he gets rescued from the well. Someone picks him up, and Yusuf alayhi salam is now sold into slavery. So these people who pick Yusuf alayhi salam up feel, hey, you know what, this is an asset for us, let's dispose of him for a certain amount. And there comes this person, we refer to him as the Aziz, by his title. This is what the Quran says. The Aziz, a man in Egypt, bought him and said to his wife, make his stay among us honorable. Maybe he will bring us much good, or we shall adopt him as a son. So what does he tell you about this Aziz? Seems like a good guy. Seems like a good person. He says, you know, he will bring us much good, or we can perhaps even adopt him as a son. Thus did we establish Yusuf in the land. So Allah says, now Allah is working His plan, and He's saying, but He's not doing it by extraordinary miracles. He wants Yusuf alayhi salam to go through these trials and tribulations. So He doesn't just pick Yusuf alayhi salam out of the well and gives him wings to fly out. No, he is down the well. Yusuf alayhi salam doesn't know whether he's going to make it out of the well. Okay, Allah then says to him that eventually I'm going to disclose to you about all of this, right? That you will come. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reassures him at the time. But having a reassurance in your heart and then being down a well, right? And it's far down. You're obviously doubtful whether you're going to come out or not. And this is all building Yusuf alayhi salam's character. So Allah tells him, I'm going to, eventually get you out of all of this, and you're going to come right. But from now till then, man, you have to work for it. This is what's happening. I'm down the well. So he's now pulled up, and he's rescued, and he ends up in the house of a prominent person known as the Aziz. So Allah says, in this way did we establish Yusuf in the land. So Yusuf is now in the land. Makkanna fil ard. He's got a grounding in a home, right? That we might teach him the interpretation of dreams, of stories. So this is Yusuf alayhi salam's talent. If you look at the prophets of Allah, they came with certain talents or skills or something that stands out in their life. Musa alayhi salam has got, where he confronted Pharaoh and the stick, etc. So each of the prophets, there's something special mentioned about them. And in Yusuf alayhi salam's case, it's the interpretation of stories or events, and you see how this skill brings him to a successful conclusion in life. And Allah has full power and control over His affairs, but most among mankind know it not. Now, Yusuf alayhi salam, this is from the well. He's now in the Aziz's house, and he's well established, probably working in the Aziz's house, good reputation, good person, working well, and he's confronted with a different challenge. He's confronted with a new challenge. Yusuf alayhi salam, as you all know, was the most handsome guy in town, right? And the Quran describes his physical appeal like an angel, right? And we come to the way the women express themselves about his good looks. So the story has a lot to teach us, especially for our youth. And the wife of the Aziz, but she in whose house he was, so this is the wife of the Aziz, sought to seduce him from his true self. She locked the doors and said, now come, you dear one. He said, Allah forbid, truly your husband is my master. He made my stay good, agreeable. Truly to no good come those who do wrong. So here's the wife of the Aziz. She's attracted to Yusuf alayhi salam. Her emotions get in the way, and she now wants to seduce Yusuf alayhi salam. And this is a real challenge for him, because he's a man with natural desires. How does he respond? Right? And with passion did she desire him, and he would have desired her. He would have desired her, but that he saw the evidence of his Lord. So Allah is, it's not like being a celebrate and saying these desires don't exist and you must kill them. No. What Allah wants us, He's teaching us, is the control over these desires. These are human emotions, human desires. Allah has designed the human being on this pattern. But He expects and requires of us to have control over these desires, to channel the energy in the right way as approved by Him. So when Yusuf alayhi salam, being constantly aware or conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when the wife makes this approach, there's no one there, he can do what he wants, but he recognizes, Lawla ar-ra'a, he's seen, he came to realize, Burhana Rabbi, he's seen the Burhan, he experienced, no, this is wrong, right? Because his mind was trained in being conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this prevented him from falling into the trap. So, but he saw the evidence of his Lord, thus did we order that we might turn away from him evil and shameful deeds, for he was one of our servants, sincere and purified. So, if we lead lives in, accordance with, or in compliance with the Quranic commandments, in other words, develop this consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and when we confronted with these type of challenges, different type of challenges, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's intervention is there, right? So what happens now? She's obviously embarrassed because she's the woman of the house, and you tell a slave, do this and the slave must do that, but Yusuf alayhi salam is different. He says, no, this is wrong, this don't work, right? So what happens now? She's embarrassed about it, but she's desirous of him. So they both raise each other to the door. They both raise each other to the door. So he says, I'm out of here. I don't want to be part of this. He makes his headway. He heads for the door, and she doesn't leave him. She chases after him, right? And she tore his shirt from the back. I mean, you can just imagine what a good-looking guy Yusuf alayhi salam was, right? They both found, and when they reached the door, they both found a husband there, right? They both found the Lord near the door. That's a small L. That's how the Quran describes him as, right? She said, now he opens the door, he comes in, and he sees the two of them. The scene don't look right. When you're running, you're probably like, what's happening here? What's going on here, right? What does she say? Immediately now she has to make a story, right? What does she say? What is the fitting punishment for one who formed an evil design against your wife? Tells the husband. See what this guy is up to? What's the suitable punishment for such a type of a thing? But prison or a grievous chastisement. So put him in prison or a grievous chastisement. What are we going to do with him? What do you think Yusuf alayhi salam does? As a slave would keep quiet. See, whatever the madam says. Right? Yusuf alayhi salam doesn't keep quiet. He says, no, hold on a second. Listen to my side of the story. Right? So he said, it was she that sought to seduce me from my true self. So he defends himself and he states his side of the story. What he teaches us is that if you have a side of the story to say, you mustn't be shy to say it. Say your side of the story. What it also teaches us is that despite a person being a slave, with apparent no rights, under certain people's interpretation of what slaves are and what rights they have no rights. Back in the day, before the revelation of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed these slaves with certain rights. And Yusuf alayhi salam recognized it already. He said, I'm not going to keep quiet for this. Doesn't mean that I'm a slave and these people bought me, that they bought my soul, that they bought my tongue. I'm going to express myself. And I'm going to talk the truth. So regardless of his economic status and his general status in society, as not being a free person or a slave, he spoke out and he expressed his view. In his favor, one of our household, one of the people working in the house witnessed what happened, and this person came and bore witness. And this person actually came up with a nice solution. Right? Having seen this, he said, look, it's very easy, let's do this here. If his shirt is torn from the back, then you must know she's the problem. And if it's torn from the front, then it's likely that he's the problem. So it's evident from the previous verse that she was behind him and tore his shirt from the back. So the husband looks at this and says, well, in this case, obviously, he tells his wife, you are wrong. Another lesson is that, so this is verse 26 and 27. It tells us, if you see something that's being done that's wrong, don't keep quiet about it. If you have to give evidence, وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ, do not cover the truth with falsehood, right? When you know what it is. So in other words, if you know the truth about something, and you have to, and you see what happened, talk the truth. Doesn't matter in whose favor it is. It should be on a straight line. So Surah 4 verse 135, Allah tells us and maybe we can just go there, Surah 4 verse 135. Page 63. Can someone read, please?
O you who believe, stand out firmly for justice as witnesses to Allah, even as against yourself, or your parents, or your king, and whether it be against rich or poor. For Allah can best protect both. Follow not the lusts of your heart, lest you swerve. And if you distort justice or decline to do justice, surely Allah is well acquainted with what you do.
Right. So this verse is telling us the truth. You know the truth, speak the truth. And this is what this person did, alhamdulillah. And he in fact gave a solution as well to resolve who the guilty party is. And so that's the one lesson. Another lesson is the response from the Aziz. So when the Aziz finds out, what does he do? In verse 28. So when he saw his shirt that it was torn at the back, her husband said, behold, it is a snare of you, woman. Truly mighty is your snare. Right? So immediately he comes on, he speaks the truth. He says, listen, this is it. He doesn't say, well, but don't you think he could have swung her? No, big story. Listen, that's it. You've seen it, you've got the evidence. Wife, you're wrong. Right? So what he tells us is that if someone close to us is wrong, and doesn't mean the person is close to us, that we make it seem right. No. Wrong is wrong, right is right. We say it as it is. Verse 29, O Yusuf, pass this over. O wife, ask forgiveness for your sin, for truly you have been at fault. What happens after this now? The wife's embarrassed, obviously. So the story goes around. Hey, you see the wife of the Aziz, the mayor in town. This is big news. You hear something about a famous or important person, it reaches the media. This is media. The ladies in the city are talking, right? So they're gossiping and saying, hey, probably, you know what happened? This woman couldn't keep herself off this guy. She was all over him. And this guy was resisting, and so it's quite embarrassing, right? So in verse 31, the wife of the Aziz hears of their talk. She says, okay, let me fix these people now. Let me prove this. When she heard of their talk, she sent for them and prepared a banquet for them. A banquet, you're eating, you've got your knife, you're cutting your apples or whatever, you're skinning things, and right? So she calls them to a banquet. And at the appropriate time, and she gave each one of them a knife, right? Some cutlery there, and she says to Yusuf, come out. So here comes this guy, right? To them, this guy. When they see him, they say, Akbarna. So what is this? What is this? They look at this person, they're mesmerized by his appeal. When they saw him, they extolled him, and in their amazement, they cut their hands. So this is the type of appeal that Yusuf a.s. had. They said, Allah preserve us. No mortal in this is this. This is none other than a noble angel. So this is how Yusuf a.s. was. His appeal, was to such an extent that these women lost control over their senses when they were cutting or enjoying their food, and they cut themselves, and then they realized, so probably the pain struck them and say, hey, listen, hold on, what it's that pain now brings you to your senses, and say, listen, you know what, this is you've lost control over your senses. Verse 32, she said, there before you is the man about whom you did blame me. Right? I did seek to seduce him from his true self, but he did firmly save himself, guiltless. And now, so this is what happens to her. So she, unfortunately now, she's sinking in further. This is a time for her to, again, another opportunity for her to try and repent. But she doesn't, because she's so engrossed in his beauty, she's so taken by Yusuf a.s. appeal, that she says, no. You see, all of you have lost it as well, and so did I. But she's in so deep that she says, you know what, if he doesn't do my bidding, right, he shall certainly be cast into prison. And what is worse, to be in the company of the prisoners or the violence. So she says, you either do my bidding or you go to jail. So in other words, be a prisoner to me, or be a prisoner to your desires, or be a prisoner in a physical jail. That's what she's effectively saying to you. Right? So Yusuf a.s. chooses. In verse 33, he said, oh my Lord. Here he turns to Allah. He's having a conversation with Allah. We see the God consciousness of Yusuf a.s. The prison is more dearer to me, is more to my liking than to which they invited me. Unless you turn away their snare from me, I should, in my youthful folly, feel inclined to them. Or I may feel inclined to them. He's saying, I'm a human. I've got these desires and emotions as well. So please keep them away from me. I prefer jail than to be in the ranks of the ignorant. So Yusuf a.s.'s God conscience is saying, jail is not a nice place. Jail is not a nice place. Right? He says, listen, I prefer to go to jail. With my dignity preserved, rather than becoming a slave to my desire. So, we've got this nice inner ring structure that Riaz has created for us. And we see here, in verse 23 and 24 are the main aspects. The wife closes the door and tries to seduce Yusuf. He desired her, but saw the evidence of his Lord. Allah protects him from shameful action. He turns to Allah, but it's his, remember, the resistance comes from him. And as a result, it invites Allah's assistance. Right? She chases him to the door, rips his shirt from behind. They meet the husband at the door. She suggests prison for Yusuf for attempting to seduce her. So she's lying here. Right? Yusuf claims that he's innocent, and the member of the household gives evidence and suggests how to resolve this issue. When the Aziz sees the shirt torn from the back, he knows that Yusuf is innocent and his wife is guilty. He tells Yusuf to pass this over and states that the snare of women is indeed great. Right. Then, verse 32, we come back out and we see the ladies are spreading the gossip, and the wife of the Aziz proves her point by inviting them for a banquet and asking Yusuf to parade in front of them. Something like a modeling show probably. So listen, here's this guy, see what happens to you. And they realize, okay, you know what, this is not a normal guy. Right? Yusuf makes a dua to Allah that instead of succumbing to temptation, he would prefer prison. So he goes to prison, and Allah protects him from succumbing to temptation. Prison. Now in the prison, he's now in jail. This is a reality for Yusuf. I mean, he comes out of Egypt. So he comes out of his father's house. He's in the well, about to lose his life probably, not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow. He gets rescued. He comes in a new home. He gets rescued. He gets sold. He comes into a new home. He's nicely established. Hey, life's going well. Down again, in jail again. What's happening with my life? Right? So this is all a means for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to train Yusuf alayhi salam for bigger things that's going to happen in his life. So sometimes we're confronted with challenges. All of us are. None of us are immune to the challenges that life throws at us. But all of these challenges we must see as a means to build our character. And be like Yaqub alayhi salam, and remember this, not just the sabr, but the sabrun jameel. The most testing and trying time to remember the sabrun jameel. I will have a beautiful and the most appropriate patience or resilience in dealing with these challenges that life throws at me. And this is what happens to Yusuf alayhi salam. So he's in the jail. And what happens in the jail? Two men ask Yusuf alayhi salam to interpret their dreams. One is carrying wine and the other is carrying bread on his head. Verses 37 to 40, Yusuf tells them. So when they come to Yusuf alayhi salam and they ask him, say, listen, give us interpretation of our dream, of our dreams. He doesn't say, okay, let me tell you guys what interpretation is, and he doesn't do that. What he starts by doing is, if you go to Surah 12, on page 158, verse 30, read verse 36 at the end there, right? Let's read. So we start just before 37, I'll read. Tell us, they say, these are the prisoners, the truth and meaning of our dream, for we see you are one that does good. And 37, what does Yusuf do? It's on page 158. What does Yusuf do? Yusuf said, before any food comes in due course to feed either of you, I will reveal to you the truth and meaning of this before it befalls you. So I'll tell you what's going to happen. But what does he do? That is part of the duty which my Lord has taught me. I have, I assure you, abandoned the ways of a people that believe not in Allah and that deny the hereafter. What does he do here? What's he doing? What's he doing, you think? What's that? Giving down. It's not giving them the answer. Now. So these two guys are really keen to know, listen man, what's going to happen? He said, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you, Allah has taught me this. But you know what? I have abandoned the ways of people that believe not in Allah, and I don't associate, in other words, I don't associate partners with Allah. I believe in Allah. He's giving a dawah. So it tells you that when someone comes to you, or someone comes and you confront people, and they want something, and they're in excitement and they're in admiration of you, always take the time to give the dawah. So Yusuf alayhi salam introduced the dawah. Then he tells them, and I follow the ways of my fathers Ibrahim, Ishaq and Yaqub, and never could we attribute any partners to Allah in whatever way. Right? That comes of the grace of Allah to us and to mankind, yet most men, most humans are not, or many humans are not grateful. So Yusuf alayhi salam goes on and he gives them the dawah. After he gives them the dawah, right, he now proceeds to interpret their dreams. And he tells them what their dreams mean. One will press wine for the king. In other words, if you're working for the king, and the other one will be killed. So that's where the story ends for tonight. And next week we're going to continue. It gets interesting, where you see Yusuf's journey. But right now he's in jail. Not a nice time. We've seen him get out of the well. Hey, it was nice. You know, here's Yusuf. You know, in Makkah and out established in the land. Good home, good boss, working for him. And then another challenge as well that he's confronted with, and he's in prison. So he interprets the dream for these two prisoners, and next week inshallah we'll continue.
Next week is Eid.
Next week is Eid. The following week we'll continue with it. Right. So what we learn from here is a great lesson in morality. That the story of Yusuf should be taught to every youngster. That these are the challenges in life, right? The Christian world has responded to creating monks, etc., people who want to sort of kill off the natural carnal desires that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed within the human being. What the Quran, what Allah expects us under Islam to do is to exercise self-restraint and control over that. And we see Yusuf alayhi salam having built himself, imbued himself with taqwa. When that approach was made to him, he was able to resist the approach. What we also learn is truthful evidence, that we should strive to give truthful evidence if we are witness to anything that's gone wrong, right? That we give the evidence truthfully. 3, we use every opportunity to give da'wah. So when these prisoners came to Yusuf alayhi salam, they asked him, to interpret their dreams, which was of importance to them, he assisted them. He assisted them. So when one is gifted with a skill, always use that skill to assist others. Don't turn them away. But when you're doing so, aid the da'wah. Remind them of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of His oneness. So those are the few lessons we learned from it. And we'll go on for questions and comments. And we will see you then, inshallah, week after next.